Welcome back to the Secondhand Club. My name is Gregory, and in today's video we are talking about the FP Journe Octa Divine. I was lucky enough to get in my hands an example of the platinum version in 42mm, and I really wanted to share that with you. Let's get into it. Before we dive into it, please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps us put out content talking watches and grow the channel. Don't hesitate also to follow us on Instagram, where we post daily. If you are in the market to buy or sell your timepiece, feel free to also visit our website, thesecondhandclub.com, or email us. I will leave all the details in the description below. For those of you that are watching this video and following the work of the man behind the brand of FP Journe, we'll know that François Paul started his career at the young age of 16 in Paris, and he was restoring antique clocks and tourbillons. The tourbillon was also the start of his career as a true watchmaker, something that is very unusual for a young watchmaker. He wanted to display his skills and completed his first tourbillon in 1982. 30 years later, he celebrated the anniversary of this creation by releasing the reference to the public, reference T30. The true beginning of FP Journe as a brand was in 1999 with the launch of the tourbillon à remontoir d'égalité, which remains today one of the iconic pieces of the master watchmaker, and was shortly followed by another icon from modern watchmaking, the Résonance. It's a piece that was inspired from Abraham Louis Breguet and his early work on antique clocks. In order to make the brand reach a broader range of collectors, François Paul decided to create an automatic line shortly after the Résonance and the tourbillon, which will be named Octa. In 2001, the collection was born, with the launch of the first piece with the idea of using a base automatic movement that would fit all future models of the collection, with additional models to fit the requirements of each complication. The main purpose was to get a watch with a long power reserve, reduce the friction, and improve timekeeping, which has been an obsession for François Paul Journe. In terms of designs, François Paul is known for having key design elements consistent throughout the history of his watch releases. From the Réserve de Marche to the UTC or the Perpetual Calendar, we have seen throughout the years key DNA that makes Journe stand out and recognized if you know what you have in your hands. From the screw-style crown design to facilitate the winding with your fingers, to the font of the numerals, the roundness of the case, or even the drop-styled hands. On the mechanical side, the in-house movement, the Octa 1300, houses a 5 days or 120 hours of power reserve. It's probably closer to 7 days, but the official reserve is communicated to be 5 days, as it's under that threshold that we observe the best performance of timekeeping. Over the years, the collection has seen several evolutions from mechanical to design standpoints. One of the upgrades that we saw was the winding mechanism. In order for his watches to be kept wound for a longer period of time without the necessity of having a lot of movement, he switched from a bidirectional winding system to a unidirectional one, mounted on ceramic ball bearings. If you are familiar with Journe watches, you will also notice that when you turn the watch around, the rotor is slightly off-centered. This is not a mistake. François Paul Journe determined that the inertia of the rotor requires less movement if the rotor was slightly off-centered, allowing the power reserve to always be optimal no matter the lifestyle of the wearer. In 2004, the Octa movement changed from a rhodium-plated brass to solid gold, 22-karat gold rotor and 18-karat rose gold plates and bridges, following the wish of Journe to offer the most luxurious and durable watches possible. This has been a desire for François Paul to create watches that will withstand the test of time by using robust material like gold or platinum, compared to other brands using popular but not necessarily reliable material for the sake of marketing purposes. The 2016 version of the FP Journe Octa Divine follows the path set by the Octa Perpetual Calendar. A larger case, a stepped clover, and a bicolored dial with complications all placed in the central area. Additionally, it also comes with a larger display of the date. Finally, compared to the older Octa Divine, the display and the position of the style and of the complication has been changed, mainly creating a cleaner and modernized look for the dial. The initial difference to notice on the latter execution of the Octa Divine is clearly its size. While it's still available in the 40mm, the 2016 version is now also available in 42mm, as you can see in the footage of this video. Even with a 7.2-inch wrist, I tend to prefer the early Journe size with the 38mm brass movement releases, or 39mm chronomètre bleu, or even the regular 40mm size. However, for those of you who haven't had the chance to try on a Journe watch, the regular idea of I cannot wear a watch that is bigger than 40mm doesn't really apply to Journe. With its lug design and the fully integrated bracelet and the way the case is shaped, a 42mm Journe wears more like a regular 40mm watch. If you are offered a 42mm, put it on the wrist before turning it down. This might be your one and only chance of acquiring one of those. As discussed earlier, the case is very well finished with a full polish and rounded bezel and lugs. The crown remains identical, and this new Octa Divine is available in two versions. Either the platinum case with a grey dial or the rose gold case with the salmon dial. In regards of the dial itself, this Divine follows the evolution of the Journe design in the Octa line, similar to the perpetual calendar. A clover style in the center and the iconic Journe numerals on the outer side of the clover. On each screw side of the dial, the numerals are just smaller, as this is a known factor. François Paul doesn't like cutoff on his dial design, which is always the inception of all his new watches. Before coming up with a new movement, he always starts with the design of the watch from a wrist shot perspective. The watch always needs to look good. In terms of complications, the Octa Divine displays several ones. The time, the moon phase, a large date, a small digital second, and the power reserve indicator. However, as I said earlier, everything has been slightly redesigned and repositioned. The small second is now a digital partial disc, not a sub-dial anymore, and it makes a full revolution in 60 seconds. It is also a complication that you can find on the Astronomique, the latest grand complication from François Paul Journe. The moon is printed on a sapphire disc. Both the date and the power reserve have been repositioned and redesigned, the power reserve being now smaller and the date being larger and more legible. Those changes can seem minimal, but it makes a big difference. And it's something that we notice a lot at Journe. Changes are not brutal, they come over time with very small touches, with the intent to bring the best display of time possible in the Journe way. All the settings are done via the crown, preventing from having external pushers which could impact the design and feel of this complex reference. In terms of look and finishing, the movement of the Octa Divine is the core of Journe's DNA. The bridges and plates are manufactured in solid 18-karat rose gold, something that we have seen across all his watches since 2004, apart of course of a few exceptions like the automatic anniversary edition that was announced last year to celebrate the 20 years anniversary of the Octa. The rotor is guilloché with a beautiful finishing, the bridges are adorned with circular Geneva stripes, hand-polished bevels, and the main plate is circular grained. All these elements combined make this Octa Divine a great high horology piece. Overall, this new version of the FP Journe Octa Divine brings some fresher and some modernity to a model that was not completely in line anymore with the newest collection. Its design and display brings some space on the dial and makes it more pleasing to the eye. At the same time, it remains faithful to the older model and therefore feeling quite reassuring for collectors. And if in the end the 42mm diameter is still not your cup of tea, a 40mm version also exists. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about this Octa Divine or FP Journe in general. I know this model is not the most popular, but in my opinion it is something that is a bit overlooked, as this is such an interesting watch. Please make sure also to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps us grow the channel. We release videos talking watches every week. Have a great day and see you in the next episode.